All right, folks. Hey, welcome on back this Monday afternoon, shortly after 12 o'clock Eastern, for another fantastic edition of our Traders Talk Workshop. Great to have all of our students and members alike just joining me here this Monday. Great to see Leda, Farzad, Roberto, got Jackal here, Nabil, Magnus, got Glenn, Gerard, Wiz, got all of us just joining us here. Students and members alike, either way, inside our live trading room. And if you're joining us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube's the works. Right down below there, just be a friend, tell a friend at Cyber Trading You. If you're new to our platform, my webcam is inverse. What's going on there? There we go. We're back to spin that around the other way. Got my Giants jersey on right now. How about that? Giants getting their first win across the NFL season. I had to rep them at least for today, but tell you what, funny story. We have our new quarterback, Jackson Dart, rookie quarterback. Thank God he's starting now. But the second he ran in for the touchdown, it was his first official touchdown as a starter. I bought his jersey instantly. It's in the mail right now, so it's being shipped here. It's my Eli Manning jersey right now. I'm wearing the old Eli jersey here, at least with me. But otherwise, if you're following along on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., we advocate for you to be a member inside our live trading room, because you're going to be able to take part in a few of these runners that we had across the morning here. The Tilray trade, I got out on this just a little earlier here across the late morning at like 11 o'clock. Probably like right around 162, 163. I guess this just wicked down pretty nastily there, and that's weird. But listen, the YCBD stock, this thing was just a beast today. It's still up 150%, and this technically isn't the top percent gainer that we had this morning. It wasn't the stock that made the biggest move across the pre-market. This thing was, and look at where it's at now. So it just goes to show, A, the trend is your friend, but otherwise, we're going to answer here in this workshop, why? Why did this ticker move up of all things? Why were we calling out Tilray earlier today? And not just like, why did we call it out, but more importantly, why did we enter them? When did we enter them? With what reason? Why were we so confident of buying when and where we did? That's what you need to learn here in this workshop. And the more that you go through our classes, these workshops, the private coaching, the more that you address that why, it becomes a lot easier in the heat of the moment. So remember, we don't just buy a stock because news comes out, but we buy a stock because of activity, because of momentum. If it's up a lot in pre-market, odds are a lot more people are going to see it on their scanners, on their platforms, at least going into the market open. So that's where, at least this morning, we were looking at Tilray and we were looking at the other one, the YCBD trade. So briefly, just to give you a heads up, there was some news that came out, or rather, there was a post that came out. I think that there's going to be some announcement soon on cannabis or with CBD. Either way, Trump on his Truth Social stuff, he posted some video about CBD, about it treating for seniors and the elderly. A lot of that, unless if you were living under a rock, you should know that already. Like, a lot of people see great value and physical and mental benefits in CBD. We're not even talking pot. We're just talking CBD. So Trump posted this video on his Truth Social thing last night, or yesterday at least it was, regarding CBD, and maybe there's some news coming out soon with pot, cannabis legislation, whatever you want to say. So that's just where in pre-market, well, hey, that news, that viral post, well, that allowed a stock like Tilray to push up early in the morning here, right? It was flattening out early. It dropped off at 7 o'clock, and then it became flat again before the opening bell. All right, so something like that, not only is it up percentage-wise, but something like this is still making higher lows. What are we looking for, folks? At least if you're inside our live trading room, after we see higher lows on a chart, very simple question, what are we looking for afterwards? It's not like we're just jumping in right away here. It's like, oh, news came out, oh, Trump video. You could be the most hardcore right person out there. You shouldn't be buying just because news comes out. You need to be buying because of momentum. So with higher lows, what are we simply looking for after? What's the phrase? Higher lows, higher what? Higher highs. Yeah. So listen, if this wants to break out after the market opens, I'm here for that. Let's find out where our resistance is. Let's see where the big seller is up top. What if that big sell order gets taken out? I'd be led to believe the stock will run. Real quick, Nabil, Glenn, Margaret, you got Uday here, all of us otherwise. What time is reversal time? What time is reversal time? 10:30. So after the market opens up, we wait the first 5 minutes. But after that, at least if this stock is trying to make a higher high after the first 5 minutes, we're going to try and be quick to take that trade up until around 10:30 in the morning. That's just a very general game plan. Chuck, give me a quick sec, my man. We're going to be focused on the trades here if you don't mind. But otherwise, the YCBD stock, though, same deal. Now, I do want to point out, I took a speculative trade on this one. This one wasn't called out as much directly until after the market opened. And I want to tell you why. This stock was below $1 in the pre-market. It was below $1 when the market opened up. We really don't focus on these, penny stocks until they break over $1. So once it popped over $1, that's when we called it out to our students here inside our room. Rich was pointing out the halt, and then he was talking about the halt print afterwards, right? If you see that there in the chat board popping up. But I don't mind showing this here because it just goes to show if you're around the block, you know what to look for. That's just where, I'm chatting Fausto in the morning here. Here's some business stuff you probably don't need to see. But otherwise, YCBD, look at the timestamp here, 9:18 in the morning. 9:18, I wrote that to him, Fausto, early in the morning. I said, YCBD is a CBD company, a quote-unquote penny stock that's been around for a bit. May see a big move soon if Trump announces something. I didn't want to put it in the chat, but otherwise, that's just where, at least after the market opened up, bing, this thing took off like a rocket. So I took a speculative trade on this because this could have pulled back. I mean, I wasn't out of the weeds when this was shaken down here at 73 cents, right at the market open, but it was inching up and up and up and up. I wasn't even calling it out to our students here at this time because, again, if it breaks over $1, and more importantly, if there's like signs of life over $1, we're probably going to see a better run, right? Like you told me, like all of our students told me, hey, reversal time's at 10:30, right? So I know it stinks if you miss out on the first pop, but you might be late to the party, but you still might be able to get a great piece of the pie, at least afterwards. So, I got lucky with this where it actually played out perfect from 76 cents. I'm in right now from 76.5 cents. See that there on the top right of my screen. But once this popped and took off, that's when we started going crazy about it inside our trading room. So the more important question is not how do you get lucky, right? That's cool. I'm very happy that this worked out for me. But otherwise, though, how could you have traded this stock even after it popped up from there? I know it's easy to say, well, it just kept going up higher. Well, yeah, I mean, if trading was always done in hindsight, right? If that was the case, you and I wouldn't have a need to be doing this on a Monday. Let's just be honest with ourselves. If trading was so easy, you'd be like, you just could have bought right there. Come on. Now, if this stock pops and gets halted, there's a lot of volatility going on here at this point. Hopefully, it can make this move. But what if it's just a flash in a pan and it just comes right back down immediately after? We have to react after this stock reopens up from a halt. Now, just to point out, let me ask here. I've been asking this the last couple of weeks, but otherwise, who here was with me last week in phase 2? Just this past Friday, this past Monday, a week ago here. Who was here with me in the phase 2 stock course? Margaret, Uday, Bell, Bill, got a lot of us here just joining us. Lee, there you go. I teach a whole class in the phase 2 curriculum. It was probably like last month's set of classes, but it's a full class on how to trade halts, right? I go over A to Z what to look for specifically in a halt. But you know what? Let's go over it right here. And actually for my students right now that were in that class, when this gets halted and it's up a lot already, well, when it reopens up, we're not just going to jump in, obviously. We're going to wait to see the reaction off the halt, like I just said. But is there something that happens when this reopens? Is there something that pops up on Bookmap or the time and sales, perhaps otherwise, that we need to acknowledge, that we need to say, hey, that's going to be a pretty big level. It's going to be a pretty big level. What do we look for here, folks? Mike and Bill saying, yeah, just kind of just say halt print. Just say, yeah, the halt print right there. I don't really abbreviate that one as much, but the halt print, right? So when this reopens up from a crazy big halt, you want to see where that big print, that big transaction is on the time and sales. So let me point this out here to you. I told you that I was, looking at this trade in pre-market, that I bought this stock in pre-market myself. But when this reopened up afterwards, Well, this is our call out. Rich pointed this out at 10 o'clock on the nose. It was, YCBD print, the Halt print, the print. It's at $1.10. So that instantly becomes a key level for us to work off of going into this move. Give it about a couple minutes because it might break below there and hold below there, break a lower low, and that's a wrap. That's game over, son. That's it. So you don't want that to happen. That's where here, wait a couple minutes, right? Even on this wick, it shook down, but it never broke lower from this one, kept higher lows, and then really it just held the 110 level beautifully as support. Let me show that to you here. Right at 10 o'clock in the morning, here's Bookmap. Filter out my dots if I can, try and get you a good visual here for this one, perhaps. Got to lower my number here a bit. Give me a sec. There we go. Jeez. Tiny one, but it's effective. So it was about 19,000 shares that got filled instantly when this reopened up from a halt. Now, the reason that this is important is because, well, hey, we're calling the iceberg here at $2 to be pretty big. We're calling this one first right around 130. It's about 20,000 shares itself. We're calling that to be a big level, right? Because look at the orange or red lines. Any of those we should be acknowledging as a clear level of support resistance. Well, if those are levels, 21,780, 19,999, where's that extra share to make it a clean 20? This one here, 19,000, that's just as big. That's just as important, right? So that's where, at least otherwise, the more that we keep seeing this hold over that, there's better chance for this to run into 1030. I mean, granted, it's 10 o'clock in the morning here, right? So even if reversal time's at 10:15, we still have some quality time left to get one last entry off. And if this holds higher lows, great. If this makes a higher high, even better. If not 10:15, then 10:30. So this obviously moved up even higher and longer in terms of time. But just essentially, where could you have gotten in on this trade? What were the best levels to have taken this trade from? Well, we call them out inside our chat board all throughout the day when they're happening real time. But here in this workshop, it gives us a better chance to put this under a microscope. Yes, in hindsight, so like we know that this already happened, but this isn't the first stock that we've ever seen get halted. This isn't the first stock that we've ever traded after a halt. This probably won't be the first one this week, probably won't be the first one today that we're going to be doing. So that's just where I'll point out that as long as we focus on the same process, the same parts behind a trade, it makes it a lot easier to manage. So it wasn't a guarantee that this would hold, but at least by the time it reopens and you know what to look for, the halt print, you look on Bookmap, you see that big dot, or otherwise, if you just got a keen eye to our trading room, you see what Rich is typing there to you. You plot the line on your chart, makes it easier for you to focus on. Now at this stage, let's focus on the real exit though behind this, because I did get half out on this position already. I closed half out at 131. Reversal time, right? 10:24 in the morning. So, it popped up a little higher. I'm still as happy as could be because A, I still have half my trade left. B, I'm up a lot on it. So I'm not really that worried about this trade from this point forward, but I want to point out what's the game plan. Well, Fausto pointed this one out earlier here, right around back from May, early May. We had this gap back from May 5th, 146. That's where it gapped down from. So obviously it fully achieved this gap fill this morning. And it is currently holding underneath it, or it's like kind of lingering below there. So listen, there is a shot where this may look to make a lower low later on today. Like if it does break below now just chart support that we had here from earlier, I'm assuming there's a shot where this pulls back to 110. 110 is a clear level here, like we just said from the halt. But otherwise, I'd probably just go with this area next, looking at the chart. These wicks, good reactions. So the more this keeps stabbing this price, we should see it break lower and probably down towards the next support level. If this doesn't break support here, then great, because then there's a chance for this to try and run up one more time today. If not today, then maybe tomorrow, right? You got big resistance likely at $2 as your whole number level. That hasn't been touched yet technically. So assuming there's a big iceberg on the sell side at 2, and if this holds still higher lows, why not be led to believe that we could see this try and make a move up towards that level? So that's kind of my game plan right now, if you're kind of asking me. But listen, you should have been in this trade from earlier off of 110. I'm not saying you should have been in from 76 because we didn't call it out to you at that point yet, right? So I'm just pointing out from 110, you had the chance to jump in. And if you were in from maybe this level here, you still have some good room to see this play out. But don't just jump in to jump in. You know what I mean? So that's where even now coming up, let's say if this support does hold, well, is there going to be another level in between? Is there another resistance in between? Is there something that we could utilize? Kind of tough. It's a little bit tougher now compared to 9:30 in the morning, compared to 10 o'clock in the morning, even at that. I don't really look too much into this. This isn't as convincing of a spike here on the CVP. This is your largest halt print, at least across the day. 71,000 shares got filled at 190. So, that complements $2 as a resistance. I'll tell you, it's a little tough to tell you here because it's been shaking around otherwise in between. There was some order that got hit here, maybe at 167. There's also a green print that came in here at 167. If you're asking me to, if you're putting a gun to my head here saying, all right, what's the next resistance? I'll sit here and I'll tell you, I'll say, if this wants to break over 167 here and flip this next price into support, then I'd be more confident that we get the leg up to like 2 or like 190-ish or so there, right? So keep that price in mind maybe, but otherwise I like the resistance here more. I like the support that built out here a little bit better. That's all. Listen, we got some great questions that came in here too. So let me actually get to those. And as I do that, I'll just show the Tilray trade briefly. Tilray had popped up on the same type of news, 10:30 reversal time. So did this reverse at 10:30? I mean, kind of it shook down much later on, but it topped off at 10:30. So if you got out right at 10:25, 10:30 in the morning, I don't think that you really left too much on the table, and the longer you're looking for more here after reversal time, you kind of are wasting time, right? And time is our most valuable asset, obviously in life, let alone in stock trading here. So, the more that you're watching the grass grow, you're missing out on that YCBD. You're missing out on other moves that we've been calling out on larger cap stocks too. Listen, you got Robinhood pushing back up to the highs, Coinbase, like a lot of the Bitcoin stuff has been performing pretty well today as well. I think there's a category 5 stock pushing up right now. I'm still holding on to some shares from last week, the QUR. There's a lot moving. So if you ever miss out on one, never feel the need to like just recklessly jump in. There's always going to be other trades. But just the last thing that you want to do is get stuck watching the grass grow here because you're kind of wasting time, right? And there's other trades you should probably be attending a bit more. Real briefly, so let's go through some email questions that came in, and as I round those up, if there's any other trades you want me to review, analyze from this morning, I'll have no problem doing so. But this one got sent in last night, so hey, early bird gets the answers, right? So Nabil had sent this one in last night. Josh, would you please like to explain to me what Fausto means by the phrase market correction? He's heard Fausto speaking about it, but still doesn't understand. And how should I know it's being corrected? Thanks a lot. Yeah, no problem at all, Nabil. And with that, I'll just say that when you're anticipating a correction, the best way I thought about this coming into this workshop, I kind of had a pre-planned answer. I was supposed to have an ENT appointment earlier today, and I'm an idiot. I didn't put the appointment in my work calendar, so I got booked up, and rightfully so. I'm a dummy. I should have put my doctor's appointment in my work calendar. Why am I even bringing this up to you? Well, it's because my nose is like 18 different ways deviated, right? You can probably tell in the webcam if you're on YouTube. Well, what happens to a deviated septum, a deviated nose? You got to correct it, right? You got to make sure it goes the other way. It gets fixed. Now, when it comes down to the stock market, well, long term, very long term, go all the way back to God knows what year, well before this, we've been moving up, right? There have been recessions, there have been bear markets, but after every one, we've only gone up higher, correct? So what Fausto means by a correction means to have a temporary dip the other way, a temporary move the other way. Now, that could be just speculative, though, because obviously looking at this market, I say this all the time, I wouldn't wish my worst enemy to try and be shorting this market more than they are trying to long this market, right? If you're more of a short seller right now in today's market than you are a buyer, I'd love to meet you if you're making very, very good money. You might be like above break even, but not making as much as you should be otherwise. Point being is that it's okay to speculate a correction. Like, let's just be a doomer here for a second. Let's pretend there's some crazy, news with war coming up with Russia and maybe the US, whatever it is. I'd imagine that the market would make a small temporary move the other way, a tiny correction in the market. But otherwise, you're looking for a move back up the other way afterwards, right? Jim says deviated septum, just get punched in the other side. Yeah, Jim, right? If only it was that easy, right? Funny. But no, seriously, I mean, look what happened back in obviously the beginning of the year with Trump China tariff talk, and we saw a small break in structure here. Basically, I'll just plot this sloppy trend line, but higher lows broke here. We had a bit of a correction, about 20% downside there, but only to see it go back up. So that could be in relation to a stock, or I'm sorry, that could be in relation to the stock market, but that could also just be in relation to a specific equity. For instance, a couple other swing trades I'm still in on. I closed half of this position out though, because after I got in on the Soon trade from 1270, not only was it going up, that's nice at least, but this was going up like 4, 5, 6 green candles in a row and like popping big. So the faster a stock is moving at that point, it's probably more likely that it will consolidate, that it will correct, that it will pull back just a little bit. So that's what Fausto will mention as well. But on specific swing trades like this, obviously back from the end of last year when this just exploded, this was probably due for a correction even around here. Have a stock go from 7 up to 14 in a matter of a week or two. Hey, obviously apply it to some of the trades from earlier today, that MSS stock that moved up 500+% pre-market, probably due for a correction, right? Probably up too much in a short amount of time. That's just a general sentiment though, right? So you can't try and be the hero and predict it perfectly. So for something like Soon that just keeps going up even here at this point, you probably imagine it's going up too fast in that short period of time, or it might not be due for a total full-fledged reversal, but it might be due for a little consolidation, a small little dip, a little correction in the action. Or otherwise, it could be due for a full-fledged reversal like this thing was. This thing was just a loser. The second, well, not even the second the market opened up, actually about 20 minutes before the market opened up, this broke below support, and that was a wrap. That was game over. So just pointing out, corrections could be used not just for a stock, not just for the stock market, but used for specific equities here. Like look at QS, QuantumScape. I remember I was going over this just earlier this year because it was pretty astonishing. This thing had like 11 or 12 green candles in a row, and some of these were huge. They just kept popping higher. It's insane. So I would have thought this would have had a red candle somewhere in between here, at least one red candle, and it just kept going up. So it went parabolic. It went up faster even over time. But it's just to say it's probably due for a correction, right? Again, general sentiment. But am I as giddy and keen to go long on it on this day than I was here on this day? Absolutely not. No, you got to realize that every roller coaster has a top. Now that is more in relation to specific stocks. If you're trying to predict the perfect top in the stock market, when it's breaking all-time highs, that's a little bit tougher to do. So I just want to point out the difference there. All right. So Nabil, if you have any follow-up questions on that, just where to find me. Definitely private chat me just otherwise here in our room. Got a couple emails or questions that came in from one of our new gold students, Erica. Erica, welcome on aboard, and as well as to Stephen, a lot of our, if not trial members, brand new gold students. I welcomed on board John and Paul, two brand new gold students, actually just a moment ago. So Erica, I believe I'll be speaking to you tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. A couple questions that came in from Erica here, though. So let's just go through these briefly. Number one, the list that you start with, you don't always end up with. Do you add to the watch list throughout the morning? Yes, verbally / mentally we do. It's much tougher for us to text a new watch list every 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, etc. But essentially, when you get the watch list at 9:15 in the morning, we always say start and stick with that watch list as a new student. And especially if not as a new student, simply just generally speaking, as someone who hasn't found their footing consistently with us. If you're not making money on a week to week matter, then we want you to stick to the watch list. It's very easy to get overwhelmed in this business. All of these different stocks, all of the different programs perhaps on the screen. I always like to say not just the bright colors, but you got the fast moving numbers. There's a lot for your eyes to focus on at once. That's where I just say less is more. So if we have a big watch list or a small watch list, no matter what, number one, start and stick with that list there. Now, over time, when the market opens, there's going to be stocks from that list that will dump off right away, or at least very shortly after the first 5 minutes. Those stocks you'll basically write off pretty quickly. We'll come back to if there's a need to, but we want to focus on stocks that are moving upward or at least holding. So for the stocks that are doing such from our list, we'll focus on those going forward. And then at that point, for the one or two or few that we kind of scratch off, or we kind of mentally or verbally say, hey, this thing we're done with for right now. We'll come back to it later. Once we scratch some from our list, we'll kind of go out of our way to scan for new stocks and kind of insert more into the fold. But the key is to always focus on the chat board in our room, because that's where myself and Rich and Fausto too, we're all making call outs throughout the day in terms of not just the stocks that are being discussed, but also in terms of just simple old iceberg orders. Really briefly, I don't mind doing this here for a moment. Give me a split second. Bada bing, bada boom. So, oh no, I got my fat face blocking it. Oh my God. All right. So if you're on social media here, I want you to see this here too, not just Erica, but take a look here. You got this, search tab here, right? You can click this little settings gear and you have this little search bar. Everyone should have this search bar when you click it. And you could type in keywords like iceberg. So it's not just the stocks that we're calling out, but it's also the levels, the icebergs that we're typing out to you, those big buy and sell orders out there. For instance, Rich called this one out during the morning broadcast for us here, NUAI, new 112K iceberg on the bid at 243. I have no idea how that played out. Let's find out. So that was at the time 10:21 in the morning. We are getting close to reversal time, mind you, at 10:30. So, not terribly surprising that this failed to push up much higher, at least in relation to reversal time. There was a new iceberg on the bid at $2.43. And that was at the time 10:21. So it was pretty much right here where Rich called out an iceberg. And hey, the stock popped up a lot more at that point, but it was the last hurrah. You know what? Let's actually take a look. Let's go up on Bookmap here. Let's just find out, see what happened to that iceberg. Why did this stock play out the way that it did? But otherwise, though, of course, the key is to focus on what's being typed in the chat board. Fausto first, myself then after. I've been with Fausto for about 11 years. Rich does a lot of the texting and dirty work when I'm doing private coaching with a lot of our students here. So, definitely just look at the chat board throughout the day. And we're always trying to steer you in a good direction at that. Yeah, this is what happened. So not only was that order on the bid at 243 that Rich had called out, 242, 243, right there. Yeah, 243. But that order was actually out there all throughout the morning. That order was pretty visible when this was running up. So there was a bit of a ladder effect kicking in on this trade. And really, it kind of just lasted up until 243. And hey, if this isn't going to hold, if this isn't going to pop higher, like the stock, and if this isn't going to hold as support, if this support gets taken out, gets broken through, that's a wrap. Game over. Not only, just under the general sentiment of support breaking, but hey, like everyone wrote to me earlier here inside our trading room, if you're a student of ours, again, shout out to Farzad, Margaret, Bill, Glenn, Uday, Jackal, Nabil, all wrote to me, hey, reversal time 10:30. Well, what happens when it's 10:30 and support gets broken through? It dropped off quite a bit after. That's not a surprise. That is normal. That's what you should expect. I don't know if this is going to come back up and break new highs later on today. I wouldn't expect it to. I would basically, say much like with a lot of trades at this time of the day, let this thing prove itself to you before you look to expect anything more out of it. Seemed to be said with that YCBD stock. If this isn't making an eventual break back over resistance, I'll call it, then I can't expect any good momentum. There is not much confidence in the stock continuing when it's at $1.52, at least compared to if this wants to prove itself to me, then let it try and rev up a little bit more. Let's see it flip this into a support next. If this stock had flipped this level into support, it's proving something to me. I'd feel better about the continuated move then. But that's just where otherwise on that last trade, oh my God, just once it ends up pulling back, you don't want to get stuck hoping and holding. So, oftentimes I'll just say, let it prove itself to us. That's basically what happened there on that one stock. But let me jump back to my emails here because I didn't want to go off course. But let me just continue along with Erica's questions. So next question up from her was, what are the quote unquote clues from you guys to get in and get out? I know that you can't recommend stocks, but you obviously give clues, which is why I'm in the trading room. Absolutely. So, goes to pretty much everyone aside from Erica, since she does know. But, hey, for everyone here, just remember, Fausto and myself are not CFAs. We're not licensed to say, oh, hey, buy at this price, sell at this price and time. Every stock is situational, meaning that every stock that we trade has its own chart. Every stock that we trade has its own unique icebergs acting as support resistance, right? So that's just where I'll tell you that for the whys and hows and the where to get in, this workshop is a great starting point. This goes for trial members testing our room out. But if you're like Erica or like Paul or like John, who I spoke to just earlier today, if you join our classes, that's where all throughout phases 1, 2, and 3, we teach you in 60 plus minute long classes and a ton of them. I could talk forever about this stuff. But, all throughout our main curriculum, we provide the exact whys and hows. Now, with the trading room, I want to point out, I did just show that briefly, right? To kind of circle back to the search, tab there. Definitely to focus in on like some of the iceberg callouts. Not only that, but you could also type in a certain stock. Let's just say Tesla, for example. You want to find out every time we called out Tesla today. I just typed in TSLA. So 8:40 in the morning, Rich wrote it. Fausto said nice move on Tesla. That's not really great commentary for education, just shows that we were talking about that. But hey, 9:31 in the morning, right? 9:31, my guy Rich here. Tesla, big R, meaning resistance. Capital R means resistance. I'm not a pirate. I'm not saying R, but I'm saying Tesla has big resistance at 450. So otherwise, hey, what happened after the first 5 minutes? If this isn't failing to, or if this is failing to break over 450 and flip it into a support, not a surprise that this unfortunately went the other way. I took 2 losses on Tesla this morning, or it was on TSLL. So I was actually pretty interested in this trade. I waited for the pullback here, though. So I was thinking maybe we could see a higher low build, but that didn't pan out. So if it's not going to go back up to 450, if it's not going to show better signs of life like it was here in pre-market, I'm not staying in it. So I actually took a bit of a haircut on Tesla this morning, or on the TSLL. Thankfully, the YCBD saved my ass. And not only that, but the Tilray trade did it very nicely. The QURE, obviously, like we just said before, but that's on tiny size. Point being, you're not always going to be perfect with your own trading, but hey, follow the cyber clock. If it's not making that big move going back up, then there's probably a reason for that to happen. Obviously, the Tesla trade will focus around the stock market to a good degree. And even here, where I'm very bullish on the market, well, the market loves filling gaps. So even going back to the Friday market close, well, this morning it opened up much higher. So there's probably going to be a little slippage where the market fills a bit of a gap. So it's not surprising that Tesla didn't make that move, but I don't mind trying it. I don't mind taking it, but it needs to make that expected reaction that I'm looking for. Otherwise, I'm holding on any longer than I should be. So, I ended up getting out pretty quick. I'm happy I did so because it just tanked afterwards. But, basically, just to go back towards Erica's question there, the clues are really using the search tab or bar in the trading room to your advantage. And even do that not when you're trading, but do that when you're not trading. Go back on that and see, like, well, why was Josh calling out that price? What happened to that stock from that price afterwards? Even if you're not trading, use that as a studying tool. But otherwise, though, the word iceberg is a pretty good clue. Abbreviations like WW, capital S for support, capital R for resistance, right? Let's keep going through. Next up, is the best way to start learning by going through phase one first in order? Absolutely. I've been with Fausto for about 11 years now, not only teaching, but I restructured his curriculum a little while back. At least I took a huge part in that. At least it was me and him together. But there's a reason that the curriculum is structured the way it is. I'll just say that, right? Uh, so I say this to everyone. This goes to everyone because I know some of us here are pretty antsy. They want to just start trading right away. You got to go through a process. And hey, in class, there's a order of classes, a process that you got to go through. Um, so pretty much, at least, that's where I'll just point out. It's like building a piece of furniture. If you look at the cover of the instruction book, you might be able to build that piece of furniture perfectly. Who knows? You might be able to, right? If you got good experience, maybe you could do it without looking at all the fine details. But there is a reason the instructions are the instructions. There's a reason why step one is step one and step 27 is step 27. So that's where I definitely recommend for everybody. Go through class in order. Phase one first, work your way down, and then jump into the phase two curriculum. If you just dive into phases two or three, you're probably going to be a bit lost. And I'd rather us not be lost at first, right? It probably leave us a little less confident if we're more lost on the forefront of it all, right? Now, as a new student, want to point out it is expected to be lost on week one or two because you're still learning everything, right? You're still brand new. But that's why the curriculum is structured the way it is. Go through everything in order. You're going to have the best chance to shake the cobwebs off and feel much better about what you're looking at. But otherwise, the customer service that comes with the gold course, the calls that you have with Rich, quick phone calls you have with him to go over the platform or your computer. But otherwise, though, the private coaching that you do with myself, that's where we'll have the best chance to tie any loose ends together, pretty much. Are we supposed to have our own level three Nasdaq book viewer open? Yes and no. Again, that's something I'll talk to you definitely more on, on our phone call tomorrow, Erica, I believe. At the minimum, yes, you should have Nasdaq book viewer as you're going through our classes. Go through our classes. You'll hear me talk about it in phase one. But level three Nasdaq book viewer, don't go ahead and get bookmap immediately. We'll talk and I'll tell you, if you should get it right away or not, if you're in a good spot to get it right away. But definitely level three Nasdaq book viewer is something that you should get pretty quickly once you join as a student. Again, I have a whole class on that in phase one. I have multiple classes on that in phase two. So the more that you just continue to go through, you will learn everything, Erica. So part of it, not to say is patience and waiting and whatever, but there is an answer and a time for an answer in these classes. So how do you learn to use it properly? Again, I have a full class in phase one, understanding level three. I have multiple classes in the phase two program. Here, even in Traders Talk, I tend to go over just the general sentiment behind taking a trade and icebergs. So even if we go back to the YCBD stock, we just said before, we had some resistance on that trade at $2, a 45,000 share sell order alongside this red dot. I'm just pointing that out. That's something I take a lot of time in our classes to go through. If you were using NASDAQ book viewer on this and not bookmap, then my assumption is that you'd still be able to see this big 44,000 share seller too. So just pointing out that in class, in Traders Talk, in the private coaching, you're going to learn how to use it because it's a huge focal point for us. It's a major point of discussion pretty much always. All right. Last one here from Erica, I believe, for the time being. I want to use options whenever possible. Do you train us on that as well? I'm used to trading options. Are you used to trading options with success? Have you made money week to week consistently? I'm not just saying once or twice, or maybe you had a good week. Maybe that's it. I mean that seriously, because if you are someone, this goes to everyone here. If you are someone who makes money consistently with options already, week to week, you are profitable, then we will be more than happy to train you how to use level 3 and level 4 for your puts or calls. Myself, I simply just do calls. I do puts every now and then. I will say I kind of focus more on the buy side. I'll focus more on catching dips or breakout. I'll do both. I don't do anything more than that, though. I don't do iron condors. I don't do butterflies. I don't do credit debit spreads. Blah, blah. I mainly do this, and I'll translate that towards just simple option calls. But everyone here needs to just look at themselves in the mirror and ask, okay, am I making money consistently right now with options? If the answer is yes, then I am more than happy to share with you everything I know on how to translate our strategy for stocks towards options. If you are used to trading options, but you're 50-50 and you don't really have consistent experience, I don't want you to dip into options right now. I would rather you focus on how to trade stocks first. It's the underlying move of the stock that will affect the option, that will affect the premium that you're focused on for the put or call that you're doing. For something that has super high IV, you're going to get blown out the water before the stock even breaks a lower low, before a stock even breaks a support like you're seeing here. Something that is zero DTE or super far out OTM or IV that's like 150%, shit like that, you're going to not be able to translate our strategy well at all. So those are the best tips I can give for options. Lower the IV, keep it more in the money, and otherwise push the expiration date back pretty far, or at least further out than like 1 week. But otherwise, if you are not someone who is making consistent money right now already with options, we advocate for you to have on how to learn how to trade stocks first. It's going to be a lot easier for you to translate it towards options once you understand why the stock is moving to begin. All right. And again, that goes to everybody here. That's a whole, separate conversation across the board. I know in life we don't like being told what not to do. Don't do this, don't do this. Or at least I feel that way. I'm definitely in the leader of that clubhouse. I'm a stubborn son, stubborn son of a bitch. So that's just where I'll say, yeah, I don't like being told what not to do, guys. But you know what? When we're risking our money, when we got money on the line, there's a time and a place to gamble, right? I put some money down on some sports bets yesterday for football. Oh, I got killed. Like $50 bet here, $50 bet there. Like I'm not a big degenerate gambler, but I'll do a bet or two. There's a time and a place for that. I'm fully accepting of losing a $50 or $100 bet, whatever it is. And I got shellacked yesterday. I didn't win anything yesterday. I got my butt whooped. But I was accepting of those consequences. Here, we are not here to gamble. We're not doing sports bets today. We do that on Sundays. We're not doing casino talk right now. Maybe next month I'll go to the Hard Rock, whatever it is. I'll just point out to you here that in order to trade the option, you should learn how to trade the stock first. Now, I want to point out, though, let's say if you're a longtime student of CTU, I can go with like a Jim or an Alex or a Chuck or a Roseanne or a Barbara or, a Wendy, or, I can give a number of different names. Don't be upset if I didn't name you. But if you are someone already that does very well on the option side, I'm not talking to you. Keep doing what you're doing, right? If you're someone that makes money already trading options, I want you to keep trading options. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But that's just where otherwise, learn how to trade the stock first. I definitely recommend that. All right, I got 18 different windows up here, folks. Give me a quick moment. Real briefly. Yeah, Erica, if you have any follow-up questions from this point, definitely private chat me. I'm here all throughout the day in the trading room. So at least our workshop, I request students to email me. But private chat me, private message me directly inside the room here. I'll get a little pop-up message from you. And if you have any follow-up questions, just let me know. All right. All right. How about this last question I see here from email, and then I'll get to social media. If you're on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc., make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button down below, right down below here. I got my Giants jersey on today. My Eli Manning jersey. My Jackson darts in the mail. I just ordered that yesterday. But down below at Cyber Trading You, just hit the follow or subscribe button down there. And let me know if you have any questions as well. Just post any questions in the live chat right now, and I'll get to you at the end. From Stephen N., one of our trial members testing us out here for this week. So he wrote to me earlier, hello, I trust you're doing well. I'm interested to know what you mentioned about the next month program about Bitcoin, also regarding the software that you're using. How do you use it to trade on Bitcoin? Uh, I can't give you all the juicy details that I would love to share with you, Steve. But long story short, we have partnered, or we will be partnering, I should say, with a brokerage, with a crypto exchange, I should rather say, and providing education on how to trade crypto, specifically Bitcoin, Ethereum mainly. It will translate towards like the smaller altcoins, but our focus is going to be like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano there, wink, wink. But I'm sure you could do a Ripple, a Chainlink, an Avalanche, some of the other coins next up like that. But we'll give you more information in full, all the good details over the next 1 to 2 weeks, I believe. Over the next 2 weeks, keep your ear to the floor here. Pun intended, really, trading floor, our trading room at least here. So, keep your ears out there, and we'll give you more information at least as we know more, at least with the official launch date of it. But as far as how do you use the software to trade on Bitcoin? Well, what I'll do here is give you a quick example. Let's see if I can pull up the data for Bitcoin right now. It was giving me a slight little hiccup with the data. It was like kind of reloading for 10 seconds here just earlier. So give me a moment. But as this loads up, actually, I was on Bookmap's YouTube channel myself a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it was at least, and going over at least what's ahead for Bitcoin. This was when Bitcoin was just laying over 115,000. And I was actually saying in that workshop, it was on YouTube's, or it was on Bookmap's YouTube, basically saying, well, there's not much support here. There's a bit of a sign where this might look to break down. And then like that weekend, it dropped down to 111,000. So I will say you definitely need to see where your next big levels are. I'll tell you, there's not much support here on the bid. There normally is a larger number, like here, at least 133 Bitcoin, all the way down here, all the way down at 106,000. You got another, iceberg here at 105,000. That is normal, but you should be seeing that a little bit higher. Those orders normally would be a little higher here. And that was my concern 1 or 2 weeks back when I was on Bookmap's YouTube channel and going over this live with them. And again, that was when Bitcoin was over 115,000. So, it crashed down at that point. I know this weekend we had some relief. We moved back up a slight bit. We're back up to 113,000, near 114. But the question is, where do we have support? We know where resistance is, right? Bright as day here. You got resistance at 115. But where's support? What if this fails to break above resistance? What if this is a lower high, right? Hey, real quick for me, folks, if you're inside my live trading room, or our live trading room, rather, the question from before where I asked, what are you looking for with higher lows? You wrote to me higher highs, right? Well, if Bitcoin keeps making lower highs, what should we be expecting thereafter? If this fails to break over 115, this fails to break above the iceberg at 115,000, what comes with lower highs? Lower lows, absolutely. So that's where you say, like, all right, well, shoot, there's like not much support here at all right now. At least not in, this isn't even support. This is like 14, 13 Bitcoin. That's nothing compared to at least what's down here at 108. That's not even as much compared to what we had at 106. So I'm just pointing out that we're not really looking that great currently on Bitcoin, because if we keep making lower highs, the expectation is just to have that lower low happen in due time. Granted, obviously, if there's any major news that happens with Bitcoin, if Trump signs on anything, or whatever the case may be, if there's just strong bullish sentiment to squeeze over that 115,000, then hey, let's see that flip into a support. But otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't really be getting too excited about this move right out the gate here today. It made for a great day trade move. If you followed us inside our live trading room, you know that we were talking about Coinbase. You know that we were talking about Robinhood. Those are actually still trending really well right now currently. Even Coinbase still is for right now, higher lows. Marrow is a great trade today and still going right now live. But point being, kind of funny that Bitcoin moved up today as soon as the market opened, right? And what time's reversal time here, folks? Give or take, a little bit. It wasn't on the dot, wasn't perfect, but obviously around that 1030 marker, give or take, it ended up topping off, came back down. So at least looking at long term. Oh, that's right. I forgot about this. I forgot about these. I'll talk to you about this here in just a bit. What you see on my chart just right now. I forgot I had that. So point being is that if we fail to break higher highs, then we're going to make a lower low. And in that case, I did plot some chart support. These are just from wicks. These are all just from resistance flipping into support, or just, support that built here. So we have a couple of big support zones to look out for in the event that we get a larger drop off over time. But this is even much lower from where those icebergs that we showed on Bookmap were, like 106, 105, even 108. This is down at like 101, 100. So, this is just chart levels I was focused on, really. But point being is that if you're using Bookmap, you got to know where your support resistance is. And here, there really isn't too much support that I'd be that impressed by up until at least 106. At 106 there. All right, real briefly, Albert, great to see you here joining us on the YouTubes today. Perhaps a simulcast from him inside our live trading room. John, always good to have you here joining us as always. All right, so folks, hey, we're going to wrap up at least here. In the meantime, if you have any last questions, let me know. Jim, if you want to stop by and punch me on the other side of my nose, get my nose straight there, I'll give you my address. What do we got here from Nabil? Says, the thing I'm waiting from you, Josh, is to make a video explaining how to use TradeStation for options. That I will be transparent on, Nabil. I could help you out with that in a one-on-one coaching session. I'm probably not going to make a video on that myself. Now, where I will point you towards is that TradeStation on their YouTube channel. They are awesome. So keep in mind, for all of our traders here, we are broker neutral. I know I show TradeStation. I know that Rich has TradeStation too. But as long as you are on a direct access platform, and even if it's not listed as direct access, as long as you have live data for buy and sell orders, Thinkorswim, Interactive Brokers, Fidelity Active Trader Pro, Webull, you name it, most of our students here are on a good enough platform. So you don't need to get TradeStation. But I do want to point out that what makes TradeStation so good is that they have really good education on their YouTube and on their website too. So Nabil, this goes for you and anyone else here. Just go on their YouTube channel. I mean this. Just go on their YouTube and you could search right here like option right there, right? There you go. Introduction to Option Station Pro. And I know it's from 5 years ago, but this is a pretty good tutorial from, I believe, their main tech platform guy, Jesus Nava. Jesus actually was at our Trader Summit event a number of years over the last 4 or 5 years with us. He's been on Fausto's podcast. This guy's awesome. Jesus Nava from TradeStation. So just pointing out, you're in great hands with him. So just take a look on TradeStation's YouTube channel and look for options, and you'll find their videos there. All right. Trust me, I tell you what's the real and what's the BS. That's real. That's some good education you want to look at right there. TradeStation's videos. I'd say the same though with Bookmap though too. Is TradeStation a paid subscription? For the data, listen, if you need data on your platform, you got to pay for the data. That should be for any platform though. So it's just to say, if you are on Interactive Brokers, they actually have a program that is comparable to my TradeStation matrix here. And that's what we would nickname level 3 data, right? So let's just use Interactive Brokers, for example, because it's the same with TradeStation. If you get the platform, you need to subscribe to specific data packages, and they'll have that laid out on their website. So let's say for TradeStation, I will tell you that I'd recommend at the minimum Nasdaq data package number 3. If you're on TradeStation, look for on their website, Nasdaq data package number 3. But Interactive Brokers has their own unique data packages that they have on their site, and Thinkorswim does too, I'm sure, and et cetera, et cetera. But yep. All right, folks. Hey, I think that we're going to wrap up at least for the time being. So, hey, you know where to find us inside. If you're inside our live trading room, feel more than free to send over a private chat message. That's like instant message. I'll see it immediately here. So be very quick for me to help you out. You get direct, quick support immediately if you're inside our live trading room. We actually have some of our students right now simulcasting on the YouTubes right now. I appreciate their attendance. Listen, if you don't have access to our live trading room yet, a couple of steps beforehand. If you're just a first-time attendee on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, etc., hey, do yourself the benefit, do yourself the favor of clicking follow or subscribe so you know when we're going live each and every day. I do this workshop every Monday afternoon, but we're live every morning, every afternoon. We have live podcasts, live webinars, live workshops like you see here all throughout the week. But otherwise, if you wanted to continue along, actually, some members here on YouTube, like I previously said, Albert, John S., you got Leda. Those are actually members that are normally inside our live trading room. They might be on the road today and just kind of tuning in via the internets. But go right down to the link scrolling down below on the bottom right there, just ctu.co/trial. You can also scan this QR code if you're fancy with your phone, fancy with your camera right there. But otherwise, we look forward to having you with us inside our live trading room over the course of this week, next week, you name it. But you got to learn before you can earn, folks, right? So otherwise, we look forward to seeing you, if not there, then perhaps next week for our next live workshop. And again, if you're here inside our trading room, let me just get this back up here as I finish up. For Nabil and Denzel, and let's get some other names here. I see you got Philip and Roger and Steve and Tung. You got Yehuda joining us there as always. Hey, if you have any questions, feel more than free to shoot me over a quick private chat or email. Either way, more than happy to help you out. And our next broadcast here for you will be at 2:30 Eastern, just for our afternoon meeting. Talk to you then. Take care.